thing billowing, bursting forth with the power of 10 billion butterfly sneezes.
This is Wine, Money, and Song. And if you're interested in wine and you want to learn about the best values in wine, please subscribe. Last week, the entrepreneur releases started, and the episode last week went over about 10 wines, and I did an analysis of comparing it to the 2021 prices, the 20s, the 19s, and the 18s and the 21s. And the reason why I'm doing these episodes on the release of 2022 Bordeaux is I want you to find the right value for yourself. And to each person, value means something that for one person it's not value and another person it is. It depends how much money you want to spend, and it depends what chateaus you really enjoy. So it's very subjective. But these prices that I'm giving you, especially the comparative ones from 2021, 2020, 2019, and 2018, they are not auction prices. Because auction prices look very cheap compared, but you have to add 25% onto those prices because they get paid the auction houses. So you have a charge up on it. So I don't use auction prices. Those are retailers that have it in stock. And as I said, if there's 3 or 4 prices, I average it out, and which I've done for the 2022 prices too. If there's 3 or 4 different prices, I try to average it out, or if 3 of them have one price and one has another price, I'll use the price that the three other retailers or brokers have. All right, so the ratings are coming out now, and they're very high. They're very high, and there are some outstanding wines, but as I said, tasting wines out of the barrel that have only been in there for 6 months, I draw it akin to cooking a stew that needs to be cooked for 6 hours, and an hour later, you're trying it, and it's not going to be the same in 5 hours. It's going to be much different, and things are going to come together. The flavor is going to intermingle with each other, and you're going to come out with something much more tasty. And that's the hope with these barrel tastings, and you're just getting a little bit of a snapshot of what it's going to be. But what I do want to talk about is wine writers and what wine criticism is in America. And for your information, and you should look back at one of my early episodes about wine ratings and how to use them. I have a great respect for wine writers, but you have to understand what their true role is. So go back and look at that episode, and you'll see where my thoughts are with wine writers and how I use them. So wine writers, they're in the wine business. They're selling subscriptions. And if they talk wines down and tell customers that these wines are of little interest and you don't want to buy them, people lose interest. So with the press and with PR, the more sensational, the better, the more attention. And you have to understand that that's human nature. Now, I'm not saying that wine writers are going to lie about it, but they have a business to run, and they want to do what's best for their business. But I respect them, and many of them are very, very knowledgeable, but they have a business to run, and they are running it. So understand that this vintage, the 2022, was a very hot vintage, and a lot of the wines are hitting the painstakingly high level of 15%. And I'm saying painstakingly. I remember when Bordeaux's were 12.5%. Now they're 14, 14.5. And this vintage, a lot of them are going to be 15 and 15 and over. Now the producers are saying they have freshness at the end, balancing acidity because the evenings were cooler. Now, I believe personally that they're learning how to make better wines in the hotter vintages. And you can go back to 1947 was a hot vintage, but it's an anomaly. Very hot, but they made really great wines. And 1982, similar. 89, 90, 2000, 2009, 2010, 2015. All the great vintages are hot vintages now. So keep that in mind, but you have to understand that alcohol does not age out. It's going to be there from day one, 20 years down the line, and that alcohol will become more predominant as the wines age and the tannins calm down and everything comes in. So keep that in mind when you're reading the ratings. And there's a lot of PR going on, a lot of smoke getting pumped up consumers' rear ends on this vintage. But there are going to be some great wines, so let me help you with that. So just to clarify about the write-ups and the ratings, there's no hanky-panky going on, but understand that they're running a business and they need excitement to be created in the wine business to sell these wines. And a large part of whether there's a big demand for a vintage or not, especially in Bordeaux, are the ratings that the writers give. And over the last 15, 20 years, the ratings have really inflated. And if there's ever a bad rating, you don't see it. They don't print those ratings unless you subscribe to the wine writer's publication. You will not see it. They will not put in a 75-point rating in with 90, 92, 93 points. They leave it off because they want to sell the wine. So remember that. And we are kind of getting some hot air blown up our butts to a degree, but that's true with anything, any advertising. I call that trade puffery, but as we go on. And remember one thing, why we're doing this, I'm trying to find the best values for you in the 2022s as compared to the 21s, 2019, and 18s. And you make those decisions, but at the end of these episodes, I will give you my recommendations, what I feel is a good value. And a good value for me may not be the value for you, but you should look at what I say because of my experience with futures going back to the 82s and all the way through. But you have to make the decision. So the first wine is Chateau Bordeaux, which is a Saint-Emilion. And the wines I'm going to talk about today, a lot of them are not the big wines. The release for the second week tranches have been very uninteresting. There's a few to talk about, but if you know these wines, some of these wines I haven't had too often, but I know them all, and some of them I've had 20, 30 different vintages. But Bordeaux is not one of them, and it's a Saint-Emilion. It gets good ratings, and remember the Saint-Emilions, especially the right bank wines. They can be very plump and very strong and highly extracted to a great degree. So in a hot vintage like this, you're going to be very careful with those right bank wines, and just be careful because they might be a little over the top with alcohol and extraction. So the 2022s are $43, and the 21s are a lot less expensive, and you should look at that. The 20s are about 10% less, and the 19s are 15%. And just take a look at that. And if you like Bordeaux, you should look at those differences. Now, the second wine is Carrois de Lafite, and many people mistakenly think that this is the overproduction of Chateau Lafite, and it is not. And it's not even a barrel selection of it. It's a plateau adjoining the Lafite property, and the wines are made separate from that plateau. It's like just adjoining. And the difference in Carrois is there's a lot more Merlot in the blend than the first wine of Chateau Lafite Rothschild. Now, these wines can be very classic, very elegant, and they're more friendly, younger because of the Merlot and also because of the plateau where it comes from. It's not situated like the other parts of Lafite. But I have some good memories of some of these wines, and they've gotten better over the last 15, 20 years. I own a case of the 2000s, which is just utterly delicious. And I think I paid $30 a bottle. Things have changed now. The 2022 is $250 as a future. The 2021 is $200, which is 18% less. The 20 is the same price, and the $280 for the 19, which is 12% more, and $300 for the 2018, which is 25% higher. So we would just bypass that. But if you love Lafite, to me, $250 for another wine, I recommend buying in hot vintages and good vintages the second wines of good chateaus. They can offer good value. I don't know if Carawat offers good value. It's an excellent wine. The third wine is Duhard Milan, Rothschild, a very sturdy Pauillac owned by the Rothschild family. And the price is $85 versus $70 for the 21, $81 for the 20, and $77 for the 19, and $82 for the 18. And those other vintages look to be better value. But the next wine's Aubergis, which is a Saint-Emilion, another one of those wines that could be plump. $27, and the 2021 is 19% less. The 2020 is 15% less, and that'd be something maybe you should look at. And the 19 and the 18s are higher. The next wine is L'Arrivé Aubryon, which is a Grave, and I like Grave very much as an appellation. Saint-Julian's my favorite, but my second is Grave, and you can get some good values from Grave. $40 for the 2022, $38 for the 21, $39 for the 2020, and $40 for the 19, and $44 for the 18. So you got to take a look at those and watch them up. But it's a nice chateau. I enjoy them. Montbouquet, which is a Saint-Emilion, and supposedly it's on the wrong plane in Saint-Emilion. It's not situated in the Tenderloin of Saint-Emilion, but they make big wines, and there has been a following. So $60 for the 2022, the $48 for the 21, $50 for the 20, which is 17% less. You should look at that maybe. And the 19 is almost 10%, and the 18. So you should look at that if you like Montbouquet, a big style. The next one is Les Hommes de Pez, which is a center staff owned by the AXA Group, which is Lynch Bage, Pichon Baron, and it's a valued center staff. $35 for the 22, $33 for the 21, $30 for the 20, 29, and $35 for the 18. I would look at the 20s and the 19s on that. And the next one is Prairie Lachine, which was owned originally by Alexis Lachine, who was from Brooklyn, a Russian Jew from Brooklyn. And I don't think his name was Alexis Lachine. I think it was Alex Levine or something. He changed his name. He was a guy, a salesman from Brooklyn, and he wrote the World Atlas on Wine, famous, got into importing. Now, this is a Margaux appellation, and as I said, Margaux is very underperforming. So, and this has never been a favorite of mine. So the 2022 is $45, as is the 21, $34 for the 20, which is 13% less, and similar prices for the 19 and 18. As I said, it's not mine, but there is a following for it. The next one is La Dominique, which is a Saint-Emilion. Parker made famous La Dominique in the 1982 vintage, and I've never been charmed by these wines. These wines have always been a little bit overripe and not finesse, but there is a following for it. It's $55 for the 2022. And I don't know why the 2021 is $62. And for the 20, it's $55, which is the same, and $64 for the 19 and $69. This is one of the examples where the 2022 might be of value. Fiesole from Grave is the next wine, and Fiesole is a Grave and a very nice wine, and they make very middle-of-the-road wines, very gravelly, minerally wines. $42 for the 2022, and the rest of the vintages are pretty close. Not a big difference except for the 2018, which is 19% more. So there's not a lot. The last wine I'm going to talk about today is Chateau de Sal, which is a Pomerol, and it's the largest estate in Pomerol. And I have a lot of experience with it. It's not a great Pomerol, but they do very, very well in hot vintages because the soil is very sandy. And it's easily available, and the wines tend to be plump and soft, not overly complex, but very, very pleasant and really enjoyable. And they age well in really good vintages. So it's $35 for the 2022. For the 20, it's $28, less 15%. That's something you might want to look at. 31 for the 19. And the 18 is up about 18. So you might want to look at the 2020 if you could find it. So those are the wines that are released now. And remember, we're trying to find value here. And the releases now are going to start to really speed up. And some of the heavy hitters are going to start hitting. You know, some of the super seconds, some of the better Pomerols and Saint-Emilions, and some of the first growths. So I'm going to be on top of that. So hopefully this helps you to think a certain way. Think about value. Wine Money Song is about giving you values in which we think are the best values of wine.